Hello, friends. Everybody is a Zoomer today. I'm a Zoomer. You are a Zoomer. And whoever is watching our program is a Zoomer. And there is a new word which has been coined for people who are using Zoom, and which is called Generation Zoomers. In short, Gen X, Gen Z, I beg your pardon. And to discuss whether the Gen Z will be ever able to work from an office because we are used to working through social media through 2D screens. So there's a big debate raging, and to discuss this, I will be joined by a very senior eminent speaker from Singapore. Her name is Farida Charania. So let's welcome Farida and know about her views.
Hi, CK. Hello, viewers. I think, I hope everyone is keeping safe and, things are going fine. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, CK. So, yeah, I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
Well, welcome to the show, Farida ji. And as you know that it is the Zoom which is driving the world today. And when I say Zoom, it is the online meeting. And even for personal calls, people are doing online meeting. And then there are other set of people who are saying that, hey, we need to start our life normally as it used to be 2 years back. So the question is it easy now to go back to office, especially after 24 months when everybody got so much hooked on to video conferencing and video chats and video calls? Is it easy? What do you think?
Change is never easy. So, I don't know if it's easy. It's doable, yes. But the bigger question is it required? You yourself said that now people are, even for personal calls, people are using any of the media, so Zoom, Google Meet, or Teams. People are celebrating birthdays on Zoom. So it is kind of become a part and parcel of our lives, of our work lives as well. A lot of young graduates who actually graduated in the last couple of years, they're already used to the online world. So for them, going into an office might not be such a big thing. Uh, People like us who are slightly older than the youngsters, we have done it for 15 plus years of our corporate life. So we are very used to being in offices. But the last 2 years, all of us have got used to working remotely. So the bigger question is, do they want to go back to offices? So your question was that whether it's easy. It might be, but really are people wanting to go back to offices? Will the younger generation actually ever start working from offices?
Well, I think that's also a good perspective, and I personally believe that the technology is also moved on from there, and it is moving rapidly. Where the new version of Facebook, which is Meta, is going to come with augmented reality, and a lot of these AR components will be part of our life, and therefore we will never have to move to a physical brick and mortar establishment because we can get the physical feeling using augmented reality right sitting in your drawing room, isn't it, Farida ji?
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And honestly speaking, COVID in some way has changed perspectives very, very quickly, very, very strongly. And convergence is now possible because we have seen it over the last 2 years. People have continued working from home. People have, kind of got used to it. There was like every change, there was a lot of getting adjusted time for the first 3 4 months, because people thought we'll go back to offices in a month's time, once they settle, 2 months time. And slowly it started getting worse. So there wasn't anything, there wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel, and nobody knew when. So what do you do next? You start adapting, and people started adapting. So now an entire generation has, perhaps not actually seen offices. Yeah. And with COVID, it is also proven that digital work, remote work is possible. So it's opened up a lot of possibility for people as well. So I was speaking to a content writer a few days ago, and one of the things they mentioned to me is that I don't want to go back to an office. And they are quite young. And I don't want to go back to an office because I don't think I was growing any faster when I was working from an office. So now the perspective is not about, going to an office, working with your colleagues, because you are very used to it. You are celebrating birthdays on Zoom. You are actually, meeting people virtually. So it's not really necessary. Now there are whole, seminars which are being conducted virtually. There are whole shows which are being conducted virtually. Exhibitions being conducted virtually. So there isn't anything that's kind of, not doable virtually. People like us who have 15 plus years of, working in offices, we could see the difference, so we do kind of miss it. But for the younger generation, it really doesn't matter, because most of them are in work where they are given the work to do and they deliver that work. And we have really moved away from, a manager is a driver of performance to a manager is a curator of results. So it's no longer a world where actions are rewarded, only results are rewarded. So it doesn't matter where you work from. And in fact, I said this to someone today, I was interviewing. So I said, look, I'm not a security guard. And I don't care if you start work at 9 or you start work at 12 in the afternoon, or you finish your work at 4 o'clock, or you do something else in between. For me, this is your responsibility, and I am only going to look at MPIs, that's your measurable performance indicators, and I'm going to look at the end result. So I don't really care what time you work, from where you work. Feel free to work from your bed. So I think, even companies have started kind of, adapting. The large companies, some of them have, said that they will never go back to fully working in person. They would never, they would continue doing hybrid. So the bigger question is that people, do they really want to go back to offices? Again, I come back to the same thing. I don't know, but from the people that I speak with, most of them, they say they are fine. There are exceptions like me where my family will now pay me to go out of the house. That's a different thing. But mostly the young people, they say they are very comfortable working from home.
I second you here as well, because most of the people that I interact with, they say that they don't want to go back to the old ways. And in fact, I like to share a very interesting news with you. The world first marriage reception was conducting on an AR platform by a Chennai couple last week. So isn't it now the celebrations are being done on augmented reality platforms, isn't it? So much changes, Farida.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You can send them your goodwill money also. So you don't actually give them, envelopes with money now, especially in the Asian culture. It's all become so. In Singapore, we call it e-angbao, which is there for like a few years, but it's really kind of picked up speed. And this Chinese New Year, we saw a lot of exchanges of e-angbao. So angbao is basically the money that you give to younger people, unmarried people, when somebody visits you during Chinese New Year, in a red color packet. So now you have those virtual red envelopes. So again, the question is that we've really moved to an online world. It is, in a way, it is good for the environment as well, because you don't pollute the environment so much, because you are driving less, you are using less of transport, so the emissions are lesser. But then, that kind of covers up in your home delivery. That's a different thing. But it is good in a way that you can work from the comfort of your home. You save the time which you use in your commute. You can use that time for better things. But there is again another issue which crops up from here. And I was speaking to a classmate of mine a few days ago. And now we've known each other since kids, and she told me one thing: I'm not only working from home, I'm working at home. So that's also becoming an issue, because you don't know where to disconnect. Very often my daughter, because if she sees me at home, for her I'm available. If I'm in office, I'm just accessible. But if I'm at home, I'm available. And she just walks into my meeting. So many times in your show, she's just walked in, because there is just no barrier. So I think those things are still difficult. It will require either people get used to it or we do something about it. But going from a brick and mortar world to virtual world has just happened. And I don't think we are going back to a pure brick and mortar world again. In fact, I think the next generation is going to ask, How was your wedding? Was it actually celebrated in person or did you do an e-wedding? I'm actually ready for that question now.
Very true, very true. In fact, there are three organizations worldwide who are gearing up, which is Microsoft, Google, and Facebook, to start this new revolution. In fact, I read somewhere a couple of days back that there is a new supermarket launched on augmented reality. So the only thing which was missing while using your e-commerce app on the PC is the feel of things. So if you just put on the glass and you start seeing the shelves in front of you, you can actually pick things up and feel them and check the price, etc., before you make the order. So that is also happening. So don't you think our life will change, especially for the generation which is now entering the job arena completely?
Yes, absolutely. So, the thing is that you start getting immersive experiences now online as well. Earlier, you would just kind of, see the catalog online and you would order. But, and, like some forward sites, they would actually have a few videos of how that particular thing looks like, etc. But now that's changing. You're right, because, you can enter a virtual mall. You can actually, kind of uh, go into immersive buying experience where you actually have gamification, you become a buyer, you go through shelves, etc. So that's happening. One of the things I like to share is that I was actually reading a very interesting piece on augmented reality and artificial intelligence a few days ago. And one of the things that I realized, that countries which were going to implement it by asking everyone would take time. But there are countries like China who are very, very much ahead. They don't ask you whether you would like to use face recognition. They just ask you on Facebook, do you want to know how you would look like when you're old? And you very much, unwittingly go and play that game. And that's how they start collecting data. So we are in a world where we don't have a choice. We are going to go very virtual, and I highly doubt that most young people who are recent entrants to the workforce, and the ones who are graduating every year, most of them would actually go into a real office. Even if they work for a large company, I seriously think that places would be reserved for, it would be more hot desking, unless it's like a face to face, like customer service or selling. But all of that is also, the experiences are also becoming virtual. So I highly doubt that office working would be a thing in the next 10 years, honestly.
Farida, actually, we conducted a survey. As you know, that in the business bunker, we conduct the weekly survey, and the last week's survey was about the aspirations that the youngsters are having nowadays, and if they have the funding, where they will invest the money. And the number one options people actually voted for was the ed tech. So combining these two aspects of Generation Z and new innovation which are waiting to happen in edtech, and since you talk to so many youngsters and also senior people, what do you think is the next step in the education arena that we might expect in next 6 months to 12 months?
I think education is now very different. It's no longer going to a classroom, having that experience, and going through those exams to pass those exams. uh, Education is becoming actually a learning experience, which it was not in the past. It was evolving, but it's evolved very fast. And next 6 to 12 months, I think more and more education opportunities, learning opportunities will be available online, and probably it takes away the barrier. So someone in Africa is now able to learn virtually from a university, say in the US, or someone in India is able to learn virtually from another university. Yeah, they would be doing crazy timings because they are attending virtual lessons. But I think edtech is the biggest change. Things have changed now. You do not really need to go to a class to learn. Say for instance, if you want to learn coding, You can take a pick from a number of platforms which offer this online. There are synchronous and asynchronous trainings available. There are live trainings available. There are recorded trainings available. There are evaluation modules available. There are, there are VR trainings available. So you actually become part of, that particular gamification, and you learn by experiences. So all of this is changing, and it's changing so rapidly that it's getting very difficult to keep a track. So from next, not just 6 to 12 months, I think it's already happening quite a lot. And over the next 10 years, this entire scenario is going to change. Probably universities might not any longer be unaccessible. If you want, you can actually access those universities. If you will have options to actually do a hybrid learning. You will have options to do online learning. There are a number of schools who have started offering their programs to foreign students online. So I think that is changing. It's breaking barriers, it's making things accessible, which is actually good, because you are everyone is able to come to a level playing field. At one stage, that level playing field was not available. However brilliant you are, you may have a lot of money, but you can't do anything about the infrastructure. And that barrier is breaking down faster than anyone ever thought. So I think the biggest change I expect in the education, or in the ed tech, is that it will become better. It's already made the transition online, but it will become better. It will become more immersive. It will actually become more gamification. It will become real experiences. It will actually become, like, for instance, in conferences nowadays, when you have online conferences, you can walk up to someone's table. In those conferences, there are things that you can actually do online, and that's pretty much going to become the thing in education as well.
Very well said, Farida. I think these are the changes which we are all waiting to see in practice, actually, when they are launched. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your views about the future that expect a lot of our youngsters and a lot of people who are waiting for the old times, which will never come. So gear up, all of us, to look at the more advanced future ahead of us, isn't it, Farida? Thank you so much for giving your views today.
Always a pleasure to be on your show, CK. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you, viewers, for sharing your time with us. If you have opinions, questions, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we will try to engage and see how we can help you. So thank you, CK, and thank you again, viewers, for spending your time with us.